From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, security gang. Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast. We've got a lot to talk about on this morning's show. Really hyper-focused on what's happening as over the last 24 hours, a lot of news coming around the Chinese cyber threat, including indictments, some new modus operandi that the Chinese are doing, and some exploits everyone needs to be paying attention to today. So thank you all for tuning in. We are live on your favorite social media platforms like LinkedIn, YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Facebook, you name it, we're there. So thank you all for tuning in. A tradition on the morning show is our coffee cup cheers. I've got my double espresso this morning. Again, Lavazza double espresso. It's so far the best espresso I've had. Again, I got some suggestions yesterday. We'll see. I order them. So coffee cup cheers, y'all. And let's get the ball rolling this morning with the U.S. charging Chinese nationals in the cyber attack on Treasury, descendants, and a whole lot more. This is coming from the Department of Justice that are charging 12 Chinese nationals, including 2 officers of the Ministry of Public Security and several employees of a controversial cybersecurity firm known as ISPs. So something the Chinese, Russians, North Koreans, a lot of folks do over there is they'll kind of, the nation state will develop the way in, and then they'll pass it on to someone so that they can essentially keep them at arm's length. Say, it's not us, it's them. It's not us, it's them. And that may work in some cases. I don't think it's working here. I don't think so. This is a new DOJ, and then this DOJ doesn't buy into it. So the Treasury attack back in 2024 was significant, right? And now we're seeing the people responsible for it being indicted. Now, again, China will never extradite these people to the United States. So this is more of a flexing kind of forensics. And it also undermines the Chinese operations. And here's where this undermines the Chinese operations, because now specifically they understand that those 12 individuals are on the target of every single kind of anti-China nation. And so that does hinder ISPs' ability to kind of pose as a global business on behalf of the Chinese, kind of as a premier cybersecurity firm, which is what they were trying to make it. Those individuals probably and likely won't be able to travel anything, and maybe outside of Russia, North Korea, and Iran, maybe Venezuela, simply because anywhere else they go, likely the U.S. will seek their extradition and arrest immediately. And so that's the challenge that this creates for the Chinese. Now, when we get to the cyber side of this thing, when we go outside of the geopolitical side to the cyber side of this thing, you're starting to grasp just the teetering aspects of the Chinese cyber attacks on the U.S. So while they were able to get into Treasury and into the payment system, really they weren't able to execute anything there. And again, the distancing, that they're trying to play there is not working. These cybersecurity researchers were being tracked as Aquatic Panda or Red Hotel or Charcoal Typhoon. Hackers within ISPs often tried to sell some of that stolen information to at least 43 different bureaus of MPS or Ministry of State Security and at least 31 separate provinces and municipalities in China, charging between $10,000 and $75,000 for each email inbox it successfully exploited. And again, that's a business within China. Chinese businesses attack your business to then sell that access to the Chinese government for some money, and then they curry favor with the Communist Party. So there's that. The indictment being filed in the Manhattan federal court focuses on 8 ISPs employees and 2 Ministry of Public Security officers, accusing them of hacking email accounts, cell phone servers, and websites from 2016 to 2023. So this has been an ongoing investigation for that long. The DOJ said it also seized the primary internet domain used by ISPs to advertise its business. For years, these 10 defendants, 2 of whom we allege are PRC officials, use sophisticated hacking techniques to target religious organizations, journalists, and government agencies, altogether sensitive information for the use of the Chinese Communist Party, according to acting U.S. Attorney Matthew Podolsky for the Southern District of New York. The 10 are now wanted by the FBI, and there's a $10 million reward for information on their whereabouts. So there's that. And the two other indictments filed in the District of Columbia and federal court charge Yin Kacheng and Zhao Shuai with being prolific actors in the APT-27, also known as Cold Phase. The DOJ seized their internet domains and server accounts used by both men to facilitate those campaigns. The State Department issued a $2 million bounty on both men and said they are residing in China but remain at large. And again, these are all conversations. These are all parts of a greater scheme of things of how these kind of negotiations between the U.S. and China at some point will get there. We'll see how that's going to get addressed there. Prosecutors said both of them are profit-driven, targeting a wide array of U.S.-based technology companies, think tanks, law firms, defense contractors, local government, healthcare systems, universities, and a whole lot more. So, again, being attributed to the Treasury intrusion and so much more. Both are majority owners of a company and have employed numerous known Chinese-backed malicious actor there as well. And again, we can keep going as to what these folks were responsible for, which is a lot. The bottom line is that I don't like the naming and shaming. And because you can't extradite these folks, it's really kind of like, we know who you are. We're that good in forensics. That's great. We're not revealing our techniques. However, now the Chinese will start to go through their kind of modus operandi there and identify what breadcrumbs did we leave to help these people identified. But at the end of the day, it doesn't get us any safer as a cybersecurity perspective yet. There's an aspect of doing this, then requesting extradition, then pegging it to something that would hurt the Chinese to make it stop. We're still missing that part. We're still missing that latter part, right? So there's that there. Continuing on China, Microsoft is warning that Silk Typhoon has shifted its tactics. It's now targeting remote management tools and cloud services and supply chain attacks that's given them access to downstream customers. They're confirming breaches across multiple industries, including government, IT services, healthcare, defense, education, NGOs, and energy. Silk Typhoon exploit unpatched applications that allow them to elevate their access in targeted organizations and conduct further malicious activities. After successfully compromising the victim, Silk Typhoon does use stolen keys and credentials to infiltrate customer networks, where they can then abuse a variety of deployed applications, including Microsoft services, to achieve their espionage objectives. Silk Typhoon is Chinese-based. We're behind the OFAC breach back in December of 2024, and a whole bunch of other stuff there as well. They've leveraged 0 days and end-day flaws in public-facing edge devices like VPNs and RDPs. They've also targeted Microsoft systems and Ivanti. Oh, how they love Ivanti. I mean, who doesn't? If you're an attacker, how do you not love Ivanti? It's literally the best tool ever to help you hack anything. They have a 0 day once a week. In fact, I haven't spoken about them in 2 weeks, so something must be fishy. I don't know what's happening there. But, people still have them. So there's that. Ivanti, rip it out, replace. There's that. So speaking of vulnerabilities that could be led to be taken advantage of and 0 days. Yesterday on the show, we talked about the VMware ESXi workstation and Fusion. That was 2 days ago, on Tuesday, about the availability of these patches. 3 different 0 days that are being exploited in the wild. The situation now is dire. CISA adding the flaws to its KEF catalog this fast, now including 30 different VMware product vulnerabilities in the KEF catalog. And what you're seeing here is the Shadow Server Foundation reported seeing more than 41,000 vulnerable ESXi instances, a majority being in China for a change, but France and the US are not far behind, right? The difference there is around 500,000 devices. Germany, Iran, Brazil, South Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, Canada, Turkey, the Netherlands, Russia, Hong Kong, Finland, and Taiwan are all on this list. The scans were targeting CVE 2025-22224, but these instances are likely affected by other vulnerabilities as well, since they all impact the same software versions. So the 3 CVEs I just mentioned, one is 22225 and 22226. This would make it easier for threat actors to exploit the vulnerabilities, given the fact that these have not been patched. And I said it on the show earlier this week. You've got to prioritize these patches. They're being actively exploited in attacks. And again, this is where we go to the business. This is the kind of 0 day doomsday scenario. you earn leverage and you leverage your relationships in order to take advantage of. Because at some point in the next week, 2, 3, 4, 5, victims of not patching these 0 days will come forward announcing different various types of ransomware incidents or data breaches. And when that happens, that's something you can directly attribute in kind of to the executive team as being the collaboration of security with the business and aligning it together. So this is where using those relationships really does come into play of going and saying, look, a lot of these servers, we have 20 of them that are unpatched. We got 5 that are unpatched. Let's get them patched. Let's quickly do it. What's the best way to do it? What's the most effective way to get this done in the next 10 to 12 hours? And then let's get the buy-in and let's get the teams mounted, ready to go so that we can do that. Kevin Bama is dubbing the vulnerabilities ESXi cape as kind of escape, if you get it. Once they have ESXi access, he says, you can access everything on the server, which includes things like VM data, crucial config, mounted storage. Using ESX config and mounted storage, you can traverse the VMware environment. All true. So this is significant. And so many people build in their VMs, so many different applications and things that exist within your VM. This is a direct business enablement issue. Please address that ASAP. A botnet that's infected more than 1 million off-brand Android devices that was manufactured in China, which reached consumers with a backdoor already installed in gadgets ranging from some TV streaming boxes to aftermarket car infotainment centers. So when you buy cheap Chinese stuff off of Amazon, you may have a botnet in your house and you don't even know it. Now, you would think cybersecurity practitioners, most of us, we analyze our home network traffic. We do, it's part of our thing, but others don't. And what we're seeing here is the Chinese essentially mounting really cheap devices to low sophistication folks in order to use those devices as part of a malicious botnet. Human Security in 2023 uncovered an operation back then called Bad Box, which infected Android devices. And on Wednesday, the group said that they had resumed operations despite the German government taking down a large chunk of their infrastructure last December. Most infected devices are concentrated in South America, with Brazil being the hardest hit. And again, they're going to countries where people can't afford iPhones, but they want smartphones, but they want cheap smartphones. They don't want to buy, the Samsung. They want to buy some off-brand stuff. As long as it's got Android and they can download apps, they're fine with it. And that's who they're targeting with these back doors. So we're seeing that off-brand models, rather than those from well-known manufacturers such as TV, 9 or 8, and Gamebox. Bad Box 2.0 is a set of threat actors who each play a distinct role, although there's likely collaboration or overlap between them since they share some infrastructure and business ties. Again, the decentralization of cybercrime. Everyone brings their best tools into it, and there you go. So something to keep in mind if you have businesses overseas. A zero-day vulnerability in the Microsoft Sign driver from Paragon Software is being exploited in ransomware attack, according to the CERT Coordination Center on Friday, warning in a security advisory that there's 5 vulnerabilities that were discovered in the Paragon Partition Manager's BioNTDrive.sys driver. Threat actors have already exploited one of the flaws in what they're known as bring your own vulnerable driver attack, in which attackers use signed driver to compromise systems and evade detection. The advisory CVE 2025-0289 is an insecure kernel resource access vulnerability that could be used to either escalate privileges or execute denial of service attacks on targeted devices. Microsoft is observing these threat actors exploiting this weakness in ransomware attacks, specifically using this CVE to achieve privilege escalation at system level, then execute further malicious code. The ransomware variant is not relevant at this point, but the CVE is. And so you want to make sure you get this addressed ASAP. A group of financial organizations sent an open letter to CISA urging it to rescind and reissue the proposed implementation of the Cyber Incident Reporting for Critical Infrastructure Act of 2022. CIRCA, which was signed into law back under President Joe Biden in March of 2022, required entities to report any major cybersecurity incident within 72 hours and to report ransomware payments within 24 hours of making the payment. CISA last year asked for public comment and proposed rulemaking, saying that this would lead to better understanding of cyber threats, and cyber incident reporting rule would likely impact roughly 316,000 entities. According to the advocacy group, While CIRCA is expected to establish a uniform incident reporting standard across all critical infrastructure sectors, CISO's notice of proposed rulemaking departs from the initial intent and requires organization to divert resources from response and recovery. So we're asking that you work with industry to craft a new rule that would allow a victim company to focus its resources on responding to an attack rather than filing government reports. Again, 100% true. 100% true. This is a problem for any CISO, is that. Finally, and good guys prevail, a Nigerian national is being extradited to the U.S. on Wednesday, facing computer intrusion, wire fraud, government money theft, identity theft, and money laundering charges related to the hacking into the networks of U.S. tax preparation companies. The man, Matthew Akonde, was a resident of Mexico, arrested in the U.K., and extradited to the U.S. yesterday. He was charged in 2022, but the indictment was unsealed only after his arrest, together with Kahinti H. Unitauji, 33, a Nigerian national that was living in North Dakota, and other co-conspirators. Akonde allegedly filed fraudulent tax returns for roughly 5 years using U.S. taxpayer PII. In February of 2020, the co-conspirators allegedly engaged in phishing and computer hacking scheme to steal PII from Massachusetts tax preparation firm systems. According to some of those documents, they then sent phishing emails to 5 Massachusetts tax prep firms and tricking their employees into downloading remote access Trojan like the Warzone RAT. They then withdrew funds in the U.S., kept a portion to themselves, and transferred the rest to third parties in Mexico. They'll now face the swift justice of the U.S. justice system. Good luck. That's it for our show this morning. We'll be back Monday, 9 a.m. Eastern, live with all the latest and greatest. Make sure to go subscribe to CyberHubPodcast.com. This Saturday, I'm dropping my article. Controversial one, by the way. Cyber's not at the center of everything. We need to admit it. And it's okay. So go check that out. You can get that by subscribing to CyberHubPodcast.com. Go check it out there. Until then, have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend. And most importantly, y'all, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.